morning. Today is February 3rd, 2020. Sorry for any jiggling, but you're going to be in my lap again anyway. I don't have a phone mount in this vehicle. So I did a video last week. It's a 30-minute video, and you couldn't hear a word I said. So I had my blanket on my lap and my phone on the blanket, and I'm 99.9% sure that blocks the microphone. So hopefully you can hear me. I can't really check it while I'm driving. I did some tests the other day, and it seemed to be fine just on my lap by itself without my blanket. So I may end up talking for no reason again. Well, it wasn't for no reason, but talking to myself for 30 minutes. I'm on my way to work. It is 7:05 a.m. and another Monday. So what I had been talking about in the other video was kind of talking out something that's bothering me at work, or something that I don't quite understand, and I'm processing it and talking it out, and I don't know, asking for feedback of people that know better than I might. So the concept was about the hiring and firing process and such things in companies. And where I'm at right now, the economy is a job seekers market. Really, and since I've been in Minnesota, it's been jobs everywhere. I could go out and get another job today if I needed to. I could probably go get two. I could put in 5 apps and get 4 callbacks. So that makes it a little trickier when you're hiring people, especially when you're hiring at a skill-based company where you actually have to, you really should have skills. And it's not something that can be taught in an hour. The place I had worked at before where I'm at now, I literally learned the first step in 10 minutes or less. And then the next step I learned was it was a little bit longer overall, just because you had to, ask questions and be sure what you were looking at. But it wasn't as intensive a training as we have to do where I'm at. There's intensive training that's needed to build skills, unless they come in the door with skills, which is pretty rare from what I've seen. I'd say 1 out of 8 probably comes in with actual skills that I don't have to teach. Most people have something, since it's mostly males, most males, have some mechanical understanding. They either have torqued something in their life, or they've stripped wires in some way or another around the house or on their vehicles, or whatever the case is. But sitting and doing it, day in and day out is a little different. So it's a job seekers market, and we can't be as picky at hiring as I feel like we should be. Regardless of it being a job seekers market, I feel like we should still hold the bar a little higher. And there's also the argument of hire for attitude, train for skill, which is legit. You want the right kind of personality and attitude for many different reasons, but someone's capability to learn does affect their overall experience. So if they have a really hard time learning, it takes me twice as long in training to get them up to speed where they need to be, which costs the company more money. Every time we onboard somebody, it's several $1,000s. And if they're slower at learning, and they don't end up being able to move up in levels or departments or whatever the case is as fast as they would like to, they're less likely to be retained, which means that money's down the drain. So I really feel like for the big picture, long term, especially since we're still growing, once we're at, I'd say 70, maybe 80% capacity, I think that that last chunk of people should be really high level. Not really high level, but higher level instead of entry level, because we're more likely to retain them. We're going to spend less overall in the time it takes them to train. And as a company as a whole, if I was the owner of a company, I would want to be known as a company that's difficult to get into, that people are waiting, in line basically to work there. And of course that has a lot of cogs and wheels that would play into that. You have to be the kind of place that people want to work. You have to be paying them in a way that is very different from everywhere else, and benefits that are highly sought, and that's a lot of different things that, we can't necessarily do right now. So it's very frustrating to me that we're spending all this money onboarding people that then don't stay. We're spending all this money on onboarding people that are a nightmare to train. They just don't get it, or they don't really take it seriously, or they're not able to communicate well enough to be able to fully understand what it is they're doing, because we don't have translators on hand all the time. And we shouldn't have to have translators. Oh, excuse me. We shouldn't have to have translators. You should speak well enough English that you can be understood and you can understand what you're being told. This isn't you aren't doing something that you can be trained in an hour or less. And that might sound racist, or that might sound bigoted, but there's plenty of other jobs out there for people that don't have that skill. And if you want to up your game, then cool. You're welcome to whatever. Anyway, so then there's also the concept of hire fast, fire quicker. And I feel like at some point that would also be a good goal, because we bring these people on, and because we've spent so much money to bring them on, we then labor and linger on these people for far longer than I think is necessary sometimes. The ones that aren't where we need them to be. And I feel like if we could devise a way that it is costing less to onboard people, then we can accept more applicants at a time, because we can better weed out the less skilled people, and I also think for the higher departments that they are hiring in for, there should be tests required. For our advanced level, there should be a demonstration that you have to do to prove that you have the skills you say you have. A demonstration of knowing how to build, and a demonstration of knowing how to wire. And I think that for the test level, they should have to do a written test to prove that they have the knowledge that's needed, and that they understand what they're doing. Why bring somebody on that can barely, strip and crimp a wire, and doesn't understand the importance of a solid termination, not creating a fire, or not creating a bomb? Why would you? I just don't understand. I don't think that they really should be hiring straight into that department, to be honest. I think that people should have to work on the floor first. and gain that understanding of the quality we're looking for. So if they could narrow down the cost and be able to onboard, 8 people rather than 3 or 4, and keep 3 of those 8 that really stood out, I think in the long run we would be better off. We'd have better retention and better training times. I can get 2 people on the same day that say they have the same amount of skills, and they learn very different, and one can whiz right through everything and be done in a week, and the other one takes 3 weeks, and so there's no way to really calculate how many spaces I have available at any given time, because I can't account for people that learn slower or learn different or take more time. And it's a little frustrating sometimes. I wish that every trainee was at a higher level, but it just really bothers me that it costs all this money to onboard people, and then because of that we can't turn around and say, you know what, you're not quite ready. Or bringing people on at a higher level, I don't think should be a thing either, and I think that everybody should come in for a 2-week trial period at a base level, and if they can prove their skills in those 2 weeks, then they would be recommended by the training department and the supervisors for the department they were looking for. I don't see anything wrong with that. Apparently that means that people wouldn't apply, because why would they want to come in at a lower level if they're applying for a higher level position? Well, if you really have the skills you say you have, and you really want a job, then why would that be a negative thing? Like, for me, of course, I'm kind of an exception to the rule in a lot of cases, but for me, if I was looking to get into a panel shop and wire electrical panels, and I wanted to come in at a higher level, I would happily be there at a lower level for 2 weeks to prove that I have the skills that I say I have. Especially if you're a company that people want to get into. If you're a company that offers things that people want to be a part of, then that shouldn't be an issue. So maybe that means you don't get 10 or 8 applicants at a time. Maybe that means you only get 5 applicants at a time. But you're a lot more likely to retain those 5 applicants than if you had 8 lower level skills who didn't have to prove anything, and you only end up with 3 good ones out of the 8. There's still, does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense. To me, it makes sense. And obviously I have no say-so in how my company onboards people and hires people and fires people. I just feel like it is a part of their system that could be greatly improved and needs more discussion. And that's hard, because we have grown so fast, and we are still growing so fast, that everybody's got 10,000 things on their plate. Okay, that's an exaggeration, obviously, but we've all got a ton of projects on our plates, and this is not a system that we really have time to sit and focus on and fix right now. Right now, they just need bodies. So once we're at capacity, then maybe we could, discuss this. And what I would like to do is have something on paper to propose, to make the conversation as broad as possible so that the correct solutions can be come to. Because at the end of the day, I am an invested employee. I want the company to be as successful as possible, and I want it to be the best company it can be. And even though that means that I, in doing so, am stepping outside of my realm and my job title. I just feel like we can't just leave important decisions up to the top 5, even though they have the most experience and the most knowledge. The broader the conversation, the better solutions that can be come to. And I think that's important. So that was about the gist of what I was talking about. I still got like 20 minutes to work. I don't know if I want to end the video because I'm almost to the freeway or just keep going. Just so y'all know, the sunrise right now is really, really beautiful. I would show y'all if I could, but I can't multitask while I'm driving, so y'all get to stay in my lap and not get to see the sunrise. It really is stunning, though. So besides my work brain being overloaded and having tons of projects to do, we did do a training the other day on time management, and that was really interesting because that is something that we struggle with, being in the position we're in. We're kind of in an odd position because we are the head trainers because of the base knowledge that we have and the skills that we have, but mainly the knowledge that we have. And it's kind of, I mean, there's plenty of people in the building that have a broad knowledge, but we're one of the first people that people see coming in the door that have the knowledge, that seem to know, pretty much about everything. So it tends to be an ongoing thing where people continue to come to us years later for questions that are technically quality related or otherwise related, and we are being paid to train. Like, that is our primary focus. We should be focusing on training pretty much our whole day in some way or another, not answering quality questions or questions that somebody else should be able to answer. And that's also an ongoing problem, is that some of our leads that have been put into positions, sometimes out of desperation of the need for a lead, don't have the same knowledge that they should. Like, the leads should all have the same knowledge that I have, or close to it, so that when people on the line have a question, they can go to their lead and their lead will know the answer. It shouldn't just be the two primary trainers that know these things. So particularly my coworker, who's technically a level higher than me, he's not my boss, but he was the trainer that trained me when I came in, and he's particularly gets pulled to the side or asked questions quite frequently about things that don't pertain to training. And so it was good to get some ideas of how important our time really is, and that we really do need to be more protective of it and not let it get pulled away over things that we shouldn't be focusing on. But we both have a tendency to want to help. We understand the needs of the business and that flow is important, and so if something needs to get moving and we can jump in and help really quick to keep the flow moving, both of us have a hard time saying no to that, as well as the idea that if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. And both of us tend to jump into things and fix things or assist in something because we know that it'll be done right. So we both kind of struggle in that way, but definitely being more focused on time management would be beneficial to him getting projects done that he's been working on, and me getting out the door before 7 o'clock at night. Not that I'm not there till 7 o'clock at night because of my workload, but it is because of my workload. I need the overtime, but I also want to make sure that everything's good and done and ready, and so I will stay until everything's done. But I do need to get better about doing some of that stuff earlier on in the day so that I'm not doing it at the end of the day. But there's no way to really control that because the trainees will go, the amount of trainees goes in waves, but it also is like Monday they'll have a ton of questions, Tuesday they'll have no questions, Wednesday they'll have no questions, Thursday they'll have a ton of questions. So it fluxes in that way, and I never know how busy and how much I'm going to be needed by them to be able to keep up with the paperwork or work on projects or whatever. And technically I should be on the floor more often than not for when they do have questions, because if I'm with them a lot, the majority of the day, at least the first 3 to 4 days that they're there, they're going to be a lot better prepared than if I'm just there here and there throughout the day, which is how last week went. Last week was very frustrating. I think Thursday, Thursday's my meeting to stay anyway. I always have a ton of meetings. But I think I spent less than 10 minutes all day with each trainee. Like, they didn't even get 10 minutes each with me for the whole shift. And that's super frustrating. So I need to get a handle on that in some regards and figure out where am I going that I can't be on the floor besides meetings. Yeah. I'm trying to think. I don't think I have any meetings Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I want to say. Pretty sure I don't have meetings Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's Thursday, and then even Friday I don't think I'm scheduled for anything. It's really Thursday, but yet I still end up in meetings multiple times during those other days. Alright, so traffic's kind of hairy today, and I'm just rambling at this point, so I'm going to end the video and concentrate on driving so I don't get in an accident. Talk to y'all later. Bye.